Okay, we are recording with Darcy McConvey.
There.
Darcy was just explaining to me that he's so diligent with the Bitcoin he purchased in 2012. Mm-hmm. What was the price in 2012?
$5.
No, I think
50 cents. Dude, are you a multi-billionaire? Are you a multi-billionaire?
No, if I was, I probably wouldn't be here, to be honest. But it's
he doesn't like you.
You don't like us at all. Hey guys, listen. If I had a few billion in the bank, I'm not going to be doing this podcast. Listen, it's what day of the week is today?
You'd be at my office.
Oh shit.
No, I think it was between 1,000 and 1,500. I think per Bitcoin.
Oh,
1,200 maybe.
Yeah. Okay. So it's gone up like 30x then at this point, or 25x depending on today's price. 25x. That's not bad.
Yeah. At one point it was what, like.
Oh yeah. One time. Yeah. You're just going to make your losses sound even worse. But you're convinced you're going to find these keys and you're going to recover this Bitcoin. And I'm here to tell you, you're not going to find them. If you haven't found them yet and it's this low on your priority list, dude, you're not finding them. Those have been donated to the Bitcoin gods.
Why don't you tell people where you think they are roughly, and we'll start a treasure hunt.
Yeah. There's an old laptop in your garage for sure.
What's your address?
It's on the old laptop somewhere it's saved. And I'm counting on a very technical person to find out where exactly they're saved. Because otherwise, the way I look at it, as I spin it to a more of a positive thing, is it's a long-term hold. It's a long-term play.
It's very long-term.
So you know what?
Very long-term.
Like, why now?
Yeah, that's
to your point. It's
wait 50 years.
It's just the calm before the storm.
Yeah.
It's going to shoot.
Yeah.
Once it shoots, I'm going to be highly incentivized.
Well, because I'll tell you why now. Because the moisture in your garage might be impacting that laptop.
Yeah.
So
well, I said garage. Maybe he knows it's in a very dry attic.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
You know, attic.
It's actually in my
cold cellar.
Actually in my closet. The
really?
This old laptop. So it's dry. I know it's dry.
If you want,
and I see it.
You know what? If you want,
so
bring it by here. We'll give it a
go.
Yeah, we'll give it a go. If we find the private keys, we'll split the proceeds 50-50.
But here's the thing: if I find them today or I find them tomorrow, we'll find them.
I like the confidence.
Would you sell it?
Dude, you're 100% not finding.
Would you sell it today? Would you sell it today?
No, sell Bitcoin. Oh my God, Darcy, please.
That's what I'm saying.
Why? Yeah. So I get it.
Imagine this. Like, you could probably cut this part of the podcast out. You could always just put it on in your net worth statement, right? I still own them in theory.
Yeah, I guess.
So when it shoots to the moon,
here
we are.
I guess like no one else owns them. You were the last.
Yeah.
That's a good point. Like, when you kind of extrapolate into the future, how do you prove ownership to like a bank that's actually going to use it as collateral? Will you give an address where they can see them? But then how do they map them to you even?
Well, a lot of banks for different things, they don't verify what you're saying anyways.
It's so true.
Do you know what I mean?
That's my point.
Yeah. Oh my God. Okay, so we all have billions on our balance sheet now.
Yeah, unlimited crypto.
Oh man. So Darcy, before we get into what you're doing now, we crossed paths originally when you were with Graybrook. Mm-hmm. You actually helped teach a class here to Rockstar members about different development projects. So we're really grateful that you did that. I think that's a whole side of real estate that most people don't get exposed to. So thank you for taking time to do that. You're a dad with 3 kids. We're dragging you out to do these classes into Oakville. We had to pull you. Live in Toronto?
I do, yeah.
Pulling you up from Toronto into Oakville. We know what kind of a pain that is, especially with traffic lately. So thank you.
It's great to be here. And yeah, it's always been a pleasure dealing with you guys. And I was probably persistent in trying to get in front of, your great members. I guess they're called Rockstar members, right? Mm-hmm. And so that was great. Loved it. And it's been a great relationship. So thanks for having me out.
So what are you doing now?
Actually, before that, we rely heavily on BDO because their accountants tax and audit for us. And their office is right here. I've never been here. So I should probably knock on their door and say,
I was going to say,
that's that nice new building next door.
Yeah.
How much are you paying these guys that they can afford offices like that, dude? Get a different accountant, man.
Too much.
BDO? Like, how much are BDO fees? I look at that office. I'm like, how much are you paying those accountants?
You didn't. I wish you didn't bring that up.
They built that building and it sat vacant for a while.
Yeah.
BDO went in first, but then the rest of it, even though when they were there, because I guess the pandemic or whatever, it was empty. Those offices were finished. It was empty forever. And the other ones weren't even leased, but then now it's actually leased up. I gotta be honest, I'm surprised.
Is that whole building leased up?
Yeah, it says there's a sign out front. It says 100% leased.
Adam Sandler filmed a movie there.
That's right, in the parking lot. Like,
Yeah. Do you know the name of the movie? I think it's out now. I think it's a Netflix movie.
I forget.
Yeah. He was in the parking lot for a little while. We never really saw him.
We were trying to throw stuff at him from the
You were. I don't think I was
We like
allowed.
him. We were just trying to cause a scene.
Yeah. We should have tried to chase him down for real.
Yeah.
I could have distracted him and you could have chased him. I'm sure they have
I'll
security.
just tackle him once.
Good
just for the
marketing play.
video.
That's probably why I leased up. Sandler share.
Yeah. But I don't know if that office building, is it really leased up?
I'm pretty sure when I walked by, if you walk by on the entrance, that little street, the entrance to the mall, there's a sign there that says 100% leased. Like I'm like,
Oh, wow.
90%
Okay.
certain. You're making me doubt myself, but yeah.
Good location, QEW, Trafalgar. Okay.
It's a great location.
It's just
High
the-
visibility to the highway.
It's just the time- it's just
Go
the
train
timing.
across the highway.
I didn't know
That's
how many
great.
people were signing over the last couple of years. How many people were signing new leases? That's the, but
Well, I don't think many.
yeah, that's.
I don't think many
and we were
either.
talking to Rob on here. Remember, he was talking about his leases and the rates and where the rates were. But maybe they just got some good deals, and that's why.
Yeah. Commercial real estate, I guess in the US, it seems like it's headed just for a little bit of a disaster. So
I feel like retail in the U.S. was like hurting before in a lot of these areas. Like I felt like retail just got overbuilt in the U.S. And this, I'm basing this off nothing except for just driving around and seeing a lot of these malls. And I'm like, why are there so many malls that are like half empty? Versus here, it seems that the majority of them are pretty close to full or, you know.
But you know what the solution is?
Yeah.
Pickleball courts. I don't know if you've heard that.
Yeah.
Converting malls into...
No, I didn't
come
hear
on.
that.
This is
This is a thing. Real thing.
come on.
Yeah, real thing. Like, obviously, it's not going to account for all vacant malls in the U.S., but yeah, no, it's a real thing. Pickleball, like 50. I don't follow it closely, but
Pickleball is now this popular.
Oh, it's huge. Oh, yeah.
Why is
put
pickleball?
courts-
I've still never played it.
By your house, they put courts. They changed some of the tennis courts to pickleball courts.
I know I see people playing there, but I thought that was just a tennis court that they happened to be playing pickleball on.
They're going to like permanently like make them a real pickleball court. I know I read it in the little.
What am I missing about pickleball? Like you just run less? There's two people on each side, so you basically just swing your arms around?
I think it's just more accessible. It's probably a little bit easier to like bonk
Than
it over the
tennis.
net than tennis, where it's a little more maybe technical.
Okay. And is that what you do? You bonk it? Is that a technical term for pickleball? Okay, I didn't know. I don't know what's going on. Up in Collingwood, one of the houses right by us, they built a pickleball court at the side of the house. Like I see it's taking off. I didn't know the mall. How many pickleball courts can you put in Old Eaton's? You could put a shitload, man. It would actually
there
be
you go.
Hey, if you go down-
multi-story pickleball.
multis. Hey, this is a unique real estate opportunity
Just
for
think what Florida's like now, man. There's pickleball courts everywhere. Because this was, I mean, the first time I heard pickleball was now. It was the old gym still, so that's got to be 10 years ago or something. When I knew guys that were going down to Florida and playing pickleball, and I'm like, what the heck is pickleball? And then eventually,
tough
now it's
name.
everywhere. Yeah.
Tough name.
Hey, Florida makes sense. You
But
run
someone
less,
just started-
retired people, so you don't have to move around that much.
We got to come up with a new sport. That's more fun. Let's just figure out a new sport. And
Well, there has
make
been a
it
lot of new
awesome.
sports. There's what's that thing I see all the kids play at the park with the little ball that goes off the little bouncy thing?
yeah.
Oh yeah, that
Spike
whether-
ball-
Spike ball.
Yeah.
Spike ball's exploded. From
I've never
nothing.
played it, but I want to.
Aiden plays with his
seems
buddies all the
aggressive.
time.
Seems aggressive. I want to smash that thing.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. So we're way off track. I don't know. We wanted to talk to Darcy about what he's looking at real estate. So what are you doing now? Kind of break it down for us.
Yeah, sure. So we, my partner and I, go back quite a while. We were good friends, and he and I were both in real estate.
When you say good friends, like you played hockey together or something?
Yeah, I guess we did a little bit when we were younger
Okay.
against each other, but yeah, just like kind of similar network. And I went to school, his buddies went to school, and there's we kind of stayed in touch. A lot of crossover friends. He was kind of a top broker at Colliers for a number of years, led sort of their private capital group, and then went to start his own brokerage, did really well, and I was in real estate, sort of private equity, right? You mentioned Graybrook. I was with Graybrook. And we're kind of always had a bit of the entrepreneurial bug. And so we bought a self-storage facility together in Orangeville, Ontario. And he was brokering some stuff for Public Storage, Access Storage, and a few others. So he knew the asset class quite well. And we're like, we're simple guys. This seems like a pretty simple asset class. Let's jump in. So we did it. We self-managed it, ran it, kind of understood the business.
No way. You self-managed it at the beginning.
Yeah.
So were you there at the entrance?
Well, no, I wasn't there.
Okay, you hired somebody.
I know it's the sort of, it was a little bit more of the rock star motto, which is, what is it? Never pick up a hammer.
Yeah.
So I would, I was there quite often because like we wanted to learn it, right? Like you can't learn it from an ivory tower is kind of what we say. And you kind of got to be boots on the ground. So we did. So fast forward, we then bought a second facility.
Wait, sorry. For the one in Orangeville, like what percentage of, what's the language? Is it occupancy or is there like a vacancy rate of these things? How does this work? Like what percentage is good for a self-storage place in Orangeville? Is it like 80% full, 60%? What is like a target that you would be aiming for in these facilities to make the numbers work?
Yeah. So great question. What we do is we're rolling up secondary market, high growth secondary market self-storage. That's kind of what we're now doing. Back to Orangeville. Historically, storage, especially during COVID, like was very high occupancy, so north of 90%. When we acquired Orangeville, I think it was
north of 90%.
Yeah, it was 92 to 94% occupied.
And the attrition on that, like how much I guess, does it change? Are you about to tell me today's different? It's not at 92%?
Today's slightly different. Like COVID really drove storage significantly.
People bought shit.
People were converting their houses and needed to putting home offices in. There was a lot of movement. People are moving from here to there, right? Like, the big driver of storage is really historically and still today is residential, right? So whether it's residential development and growth, markets growing, or, in the US, it's much more of a transient marketplace where people will like live in New York, get a job in Florida, and then go to Chicago and get a job in Chicago. And so that's why in the US, it's been much more of a mature asset class. There's more awareness around it. It's more institutionalized, meaning like, big institutions are big investors like Bill Gates and Kroenke, like huge capital behind storage. Canada, it's coming. But so I would say in terms of occupancy, like very high occupancy rates across Ontario. And then in terms of attrition, to your question, like you can churn anywhere from like 25 to 50% of a facility a year. And so when it comes to
occupancy, more than I would have thought, actually.
Yeah, I thought people would have left their stuff there because they're too lazy to get it out.
Yeah. Well, there still is a large component. Like you're looking at, you're seeing average duration of storage like stay trending a little bit longer lately.
And what is the average duration? Ballpark. We're not going to hold
sub a year. Call it like around a year. Say
wow,
sub a year. Yeah,
it's pretty good.
Around a year.
And what's the normal offer? First month free, 2 months free. I always see them usually.
It just depends.
First month's free.
It depends on the market.
It depends on the market. It depends on like if there is vacancy, if you kind of want to fill it up.
Okay.
It depends on your revenue management system. So like not to jump around too much, but you're probably optimal. Again, it depends on the market, depends on the leads, depends on like the depth of storage in that market, how many square feet in the market. But like your optimal actually occupancy is probably in the high 80s, low 90s, call it high 80s, because storage is month-to-month leases. So, you want to be able to reset that pricing every month. And so like we're in an inflationary environment and you can reset a lease month to month. Mm-hmm. And so you want to sort of reach that, efficient frontier, in terms of maximizing revenue. So our strategy was secondary market focus, because if you look at sort of major core markets, it's all the big time players, right? Like you look at Access, SmartStop, which we're beside right now.
Is SmartStop new to Canada? Is that a big American firm?
No, they're not new to Canada. I think two separate groups. I would say their branding has really popped over the last little while, and one of the things about SmartStop is the predominantly new development, and so you see sort of multi-story.
Because this one here, it was brand new development. I think it started as Access Storage.
Yeah. I didn't even know it started as Access.
No, maybe the builder,
like a no-name one.
The builder, I think, built it.
Yeah, and he had it as a storage unit, and then he sold
it to Access.
I think it was Access to SmartStop. This one.
That one, it was Access to SmartStop, but Access bought him out. I remember him telling us about it at that point. I think
that's right, because Darcy, this was brilliant. He had the parking lot here in this building. So we bought these units here that are part of Rockstar's new home. And he carved out that little corner of real estate. And the only way to access that public storage facility that he built there is through the parking lot of this place.
Yeah.
So really he took this like unusable piece of real estate that is encumbered by properties all around it, built this property. You have to go through the parking lot of this property, which I don't think is owned by the public storage.
They pay condo fees.
Do they pay part of the condo fees here?
Yeah.
Oh, that's how they're doing it? Okay. So they pay part of the condo fees to get access to this parking lot. It's a tiny little piece of real estate. Mm-hmm. How many floors is that thing?
Oh, yeah.
So he built it for, I think we know the numbers, like,
I forget the numbers now, but we did at one point, yeah.
Well, I think they're etched in my memory pretty good.
I don't believe them.
Like cost?
Yeah.
Like you're saying,
I don't believe Tom's memory.
Yeah, like I think that was built for around 16 million. that building.
I'd be guessing at this point.
And then I think when they got it,
How many square feet is it?
I don't know. And then I think I don't honestly, I have no clue even. And then I think they were the goal to refinance it, but I know COVID, I'm not sure, was to refinance it out. Like, wasn't it going to be like 40 million?
I don't know, but he didn't refinance it. He sold
it.
Access, and then Access sold that. I remember seeing the, because it was still Access. I remember seeing the press release when, what are these blue guys?
Smart Stop.
Yeah.
When they bought it, because I saw the press release, I'm like, oh, these guys bought a bunch of locations.
Did it say what they bought it for?
Well, they bought a number of them, and it didn't say what they bought for those ones. Yeah.
Yeah. Access is probably, like, I would say, the league leader here.
Are they?
Yeah, because they've been snapping up a lot of the smaller ones. What's the orange sign?
Public storage.
Public storage. Yeah.
So Public's big. Public's historically was I think the biggest in the U.S. About $70+ billion market cap, massive.
Oh shit!
Really that big?
And then I think just recently, Extra Space, which is another big player in the U.S., bought Life, which is I think the third.
Okay,
largest.
never heard of either.
So now they're because they're not here.
Okay,
and now they're the two. I think they're the biggest in the U.S. And then the U.S. So this is the thing, like U.S. has high storage per capita in almost every market. It's more advanced than here, just from a capital perspective and sort of awareness. But there's probably 15 to 20, maybe not 20, call it 15 private and public cos that are as big or bigger than the largest in Canada, which is publicly traded Storage Vault. So Storage Vault, I think it's like $2+ billion market cap, by far the biggest in Canada. And they are Access is the manager for that. So Storage Vault owns effectively Access, and the management company is Access. So Access manages Storage.
So is Access,
you see it as
Access. So Access is really just a management company of these things. They don't own these themselves. So when you see Access, they're like the property manager kind of
in
Canada.
Well, yes and no. Yes, for simplicity purposes, let's leave it at.
They're the Four Seasons of the self-storage.
Yeah.
Well, I would say that they're the biggest. I would say that the Four Seasons is probably another group called Diamond, and Smart Stop's up there. But again, this is the reason why our thesis was growing secondary markets where there's low storage per square feet per capita, which is an interesting metric and one that they quote all the time. Like in the U.S., most markets are called north of 8, some are 10, 12. Debatable. I'm just sort of high leveling. In Canada, most markets are 3, 4, 5.
Oh.
And so storage, there's a need for storage. There's definitely a need for storage. And when you see, the population growth, we're focused on Ontario, again, in secondary markets, like there's big demand, and people in secondary markets store just as much as people in core markets for the most part. And the reason we're not going into core markets is really, I'm talking about Toronto, is all the majors are there, and these guys run efficient operations, right? So it's not we don't have a competitive advantage.
And there might be a little opportunity here for you to just penetrate these secondary markets pretty nicely.
Incredible. So we're up. Fast forward to today, like the origin stores, we bought Orangeville, then we bought one just outside of Uxbridge.
What was the year you bought Orangeville?
2020, December.
Oh, shit. Good for you.
December 2020. And then as of next week, we'll have 8 operating facilities.
Awesome.
Yeah. So not bad. And we went a year without an acquisition, just given the sort of the turbulence, uncertainty, and interest rates. But we have
how it boils down to interest rates for everyone, and turbulence, uncertainty, and interest rates.
Yeah, pretty much. That's the driver of the uncertainty, I guess, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, like the pipeline's starting to look really good, and there's a lot of great markets.
Okay, so sorry, just so I can go through this. Then Uxbridge was just the same model, secondary market. You found it. Was it family owned?
It's actually Port Perry. Yeah, so everything.
Port Perry, family owned, and they wanted to get out.
We put a lot of work in direct origination. So we don't go through brokers.
You're knocking on doors?
We're knocking on doors. We're meeting people.
Are you pulling up in a rusted old Honda Civic? Like, I don't know what you pulled up in today, but your shiny Mercedes, I'm sure, doesn't give off the right vibe.
No, I don't have that, but we try to meet, not the same level, but we're just normal guys. Like, we're not going in suits and stuff, right? Like it's a pretty blue collar type asset class. And so when we meet people, like, that's our approach.
What did you learn from before you bought Uxbridge? What did you learn from Orangeville that you're like, oh shit, this is what we missed, or this is what we were looking for, or this is what's really good? Was there something, a size, a location type, I don't know, a vacancy amount? Was there something that really kind of stuck out?
Yeah, like we've learned along the way, and quickly after that is when sort of I left my job and said, let's go full time after we made the second acquisition. But if I were to say, well, like, what are the main learnings? It's really everything, right? Like vacancy and occupancy, understanding where the low hanging fruit is on an acquisition, understanding when you're making acquisition, like what's important. Is it the price per square foot that you're paying for the real estate you're buying? Is it the price per acre? Is it the cap rate you're going in at? Mm-hmm. Is it, where are rents in the facility you're acquiring versus rents in the neighboring market? How many square feet per capita? Is it on a highway or high traffic area?
Yeah, lots of variables.
Versus, so like we learned a lot, and that really honed in our acquisition strategy, and still to this day does. Also things like, so we're buying current facilities. We're not developing ground up, right? So we said, we've looked at a lot of development, just said, doesn't make, like you can build it for cheap or whatever. And people think, I'm going to get into storage. It's an operating business at its core. So I want to buy income and run them better and drive more income. I don't want to have to think about planning, taking things for approvals. Who knows what the timeline risk is?
You're not developers. You're not developers. Yeah.
We may at some point because it makes sense, but like there's enough meat on the bone in current facilities that are secondary market, owner managed. Typically these owners, so we go back to what we first talked about, the owners in these markets are people that have run these for a number of years in the most part. Maybe that's their second business or whatever it is. They know people storing in these facilities. So we own stuff in Smithville, Beamsville, Port Perry. We're going to be in Ottawa, which is kind of a core market, but South Ottawa, Orangeville. They know people storing in these facilities. So they're, I wouldn't say not incentivized, but their number one concern is running high occupancy, not running a revenue management system. So like one of the key things you look at is where are rents today versus the market? Like, do they have a revenue management system? Do they even have like a management system have they increased rents in the last 5 years, 10 years?
A lot of efficiencies you can.
So there's so many efficiencies you can get day one. So, ancillary income streams like mandatory insurance, which is important. It protects people, protects us, and other store setups and these types of things. But so with relatively reasonable CapEx investment day one, we know, like now we have a playbook where we know cameras, lighting, gates, maybe grading, freshen the place up, and then execute on your playbook, which is day one, your rents are going to go up to market. We're less concerned about 95% occupancy than we are hitting certain rents. So we're willing to let that thing drop to 82% occupancy. And people say, well, why would an owner who's owned it for so long not have increased rents? It sounds so easy.
And they don't need to.
Complacent.
Well, they don't need to. And also, like, you guys are marketing guys. Everything we've acquired, the biggest marketing budget that anyone has had is $600, and most have had zero. So if you're going to rock the boat and charge higher rents, you need to
do some marketing.
You need to market the hell out of it.
I've always thought about marketing public storage facilities. I'm like, oh my God, we would kill it. Because you just have to go around that geographical area, man.
It's very much inside 5 kilometers.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. That's why
I think we could drive it up if we owned one to like high 90s without much more.
When Access first bought theirs, I got a stack of yard waste bags dropped on my driveway.
Oh, is that what they do?
Access storage.
They're sophisticated. Like they're so that's it, right? We say like our budgets are going to be way higher because we want
higher than $600, Darcy. Come on,
high fidelity leads because we know it's going to be a bit disruptive, and we're going to charge more. So like, why are you charging more? Like you have to be able to justify it. So that's the playbook. So although there's not one learning, but like really honing in on what makes for a good acquisition, what we're willing to pay.
And there's other things too, I guess you got to think about too. And this maybe is more a big city, not secondary market, but the Oakville public storage thing. Last time I got a U-Haul for Aiden to go to Western there, they had people renting them out and living in them. They would rent them out.
You were talking about the storage unit.
Living in the storage unit. And they would have to like get these people out. Like they were renting the storage unit and then living in the storage unit. here at QEW Dorval.
They have the cutout of the security guard in the glass.
That's right.
So try to scare
Have you had to
away.
deal with that yet? Probably not in the secondary markets. No,
to be honest, we have.
Because I never thought you would have to deal with that. Like that's just a sad state of society.
Yeah. Look, like in our first acquisition, we did, and like we didn't really.
It must have shocked the shit out of you.
Oh yeah, like especially when you're acquiring it, and like you think you've done your due diligence, and then like you realize like this guy, like he's been there.
Yeah.
How do you miss that?
Yeah.
It happens.
Yeah,
it doesn't happen as much as you think. We've actually come across it twice in the same facility and haven't had it since. So that was early.
Well, now you said you guys have a playbook, so now you're aware of these things, and once you're managing for something, it kind of it gets handled pretty quick. So it's totally different.
It gets handled quick, and like that's where it comes down to like security and like when people have gate codes, so you know when they go in and when they come out. If they're not coming out, or if they're going in at 9 p.m. and coming out at 6 a.m., you're like, oh, okay, well that.
My God.
That doesn't add up. What was going on last night, right?
Yeah.
So, but it's not as frequent as you hear a lot more in the U.S., like especially in the Sun Belt states where it's warm. Because it's
never thought of that.
Here it's cold.
I was thinking of the internal ones, like the ones that are indoors. That's what I wasn't even thinking about the outdoor ones. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because of the temperature here.
So that's another one of our like conscious moves is that climate controlled is great in these multi-story, but like. Back to development, we've just backed off it because not backed off it, like we've just consciously said we can drive a similar return profile buying current facilities than we could in develop. And so far it looks better. And so we're like, well, why would we not do
good for you guys, less.
And it's all drive up. It's all the less glamorous, like everything we're doing is just the drive up.
I always drive by those facilities, like on the way to Collingwood. I see some of those and I'm like, oh my gosh, like who owns that thing? Yeah. That's the best business ever. I don't even see an employee there sometimes. Like the hours I think are like 6 hours a day where there's like a human there and that's it.
We ran our business out of a public storage on North Service.
Oh my God, we were the humans.
Yeah. We did. We had to because this is when we were in our Burlington office, which I guess you never saw, but we were in our Burlington office, and it was like an executive suites type setup, and so we had a few offices there, and then the landlord.
We were subleasing.
Essentially. The landlord didn't pay the rent. We showed up one day, the doors were locked, and security was there. And we're like,
we were paying our rent, but he didn't pass our rent on to the main landlord.
Right.
So we were stuck with our stuff. They wouldn't even let us in, and eventually we kind of like barged our way in, and then they called police on me, and then I got on the phone with the police. I said, like, I'm taking my stuff. I don't care because like you can't take our stuff.
Yeah, there was a security guard holding the door. Yeah. So then I think I was speaking to them, and at one point you just like slid through the door.
I'm like, I'm taking our stuff. I don't care. We paid our rent.
I remember then they were saying, we're going to call the cops. I'm like, well, what are you going to say? Because this is our stuff. Yeah. We're not stealing anything. This is our goods here.
Yeah.
So call the cops. Then they did. They called the cops. Cops came.
But anyway, so that day we had to, we had to figure something else.
Well, but before we figured it out, we moved everything into the hallway before the cops even arrived.
Yeah, that's right.
We unlocked the back doors. We moved everything we had, our desk, printers, phones, everything into the hallway. So when the cops came, they're like, yeah, this is all our stuff. We moved into the hallway. These guys are not allowing us in. They're the criminals because they're not paying their rent. They're the criminals. You should arrest them.
So we got a few people from the team came. We big yellow Penske truck, and we loaded everything in. And we're like, now what? So we went to the public storage for temporary to put our stuff there because we had to put it someplace.
Yeah, first month was like $1.
Yeah, we loaded it all up, and then but remember we have an active real estate brokerage, so we have no location. So we basically start telling people like if you have a deposit check, it was like, hey, yeah, we have this great new concierge service,
the Rockstar service.
Yeah, we come to you to pick up the check. So yeah, that's what it was for, and that was until we found the place in Oakville. So for the place in Oakville, we were desperate, and the timing ended up working out. So how long were we out of that place? I guess we
3 months.
About 2 months. Oh, was it 2 months? 3 months?
3 months.
That's a pretty quick turn.
It was. We were hustling, man. We were hustling.
Yeah.
Yep. And we found this place. It kind of had that little training room in it. Yeah. It had furniture. So we just negotiated.
He's been there,
yeah, that boardroom table that you might have saw in those like cubicles that were in there. We just, it was all there.
Yeah.
We're like, not only will we lease the place, we want all the furniture that you have. So we just took it all.
Yeah. We had basically at that point,
that was a great office, I feel like, for what
it worked out. Yeah. I mean,
considering the way it worked out and the timelines we were working with, it couldn't have worked out much better with the timeline. Like we were, it did work out for sure.
And if you consider throwing away hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars in rent, good.
Yeah, but at that point, there's a cash flow component to the business too.
Now we bought, and interest rates are through the roof.
And there's another cash flow component.
Lose-lose situation. Maybe we should have just kept renting. It would have been better.
No, rents have skyrocketed, man.
Yeah, have they?
Yeah, rents have gone up everywhere. There's a lot of businesses that are closing down because of rents. Primarily in the ones I know of are, in Laird and Mississauga there, the 403 in Dundas area.
Yeah.
And my understanding is because of high ceilings, they can use those areas as for warehousing. Mm-hmm. And with a lot of e-commerce and stuff going on, that warehousing space is becoming more and more valuable. So the guys the businesses where they just had on one level, they're being squeezed out because they're jacking the rent so much.
So it's interesting you say that. Like there's a lot of that evolving. Like there's the large format industrial, which is still there. And then now there's this smaller format, some of this condominiumized industrial stuff with like 28 foot clear where a lot of people, and the rents are massive. But one of the one of the drivers of storage actually is, in any given facility, of course I bring it back to storage, but in any given facility, call it 10 to 25%, like somewhere in there, depends on the market. It's small business guys that are getting pushed out of the industrial market. So like trades, like, contractors, they'll be in and out of there multiple times a day because it effectively serves as a similar thing to what they're like. If they're in a 10 by 20 or 10 by 30 or whatever, bigger format, it effectively serves as where they're coming out of because they're getting pushed out of, the rents are so high and they're signing 10-year leases. And they're just going like, I can't do this. So
it's their little like workshop, not really workshop, but it's for all their tools and all that type of stuff.
Exactly.
Which is better than keeping it in a trailer. With the way thefts are, it's better because it's more secure than keeping it in the trailer. And those tools are a fortune, right? Those contractors, they gather a lot of, there's a lot of valuables in there, right?
And it's sticky. Like once those guys are, people are in there, those businesses are in there, like you're there. Right?
Yeah.
Like why would they go back? And
what's the biggest? 10 by 30? Is that the biggest?
Well, it depends, but for the most part, like you're not going to go too much bigger than that. You kind of have to be thoughtful around.
That's like a full size that you can go right through and get in on both sides.
Yeah,
on one of those.
There's some of ours we have a couple bigger units, but it's just we acquired legacy builds. But yeah, 10 by 30 is pretty big because.
And is it just
you're not going to have like 20, 10, much bigger than that. You're taking a bit more risk, right? Like zoning could be different or whatever, right? So. And you're going to command realistically higher per square foot rents on smaller units for the most part, like a 10 by 10 versus a 10 by 30.
That makes sense. I really never thought of that.
I've seen some that are tiny, like you open it up and it's almost like a closet.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, especially in the indoor, right? When you walk in, they've got these like half units where the door's like 3 feet wide or whatever. Yeah,
but it adds up quick because I remember when we left some stuff because we were too lazy. I think we had 2 units, 2 deep for all the furniture and stuff. I forget. But we were just too lazy to get it, or we didn't know what we were going to do with it. And then month after month, I'm looking at this bill. I'm like, holy crap.
Yeah, we downsized to a smaller one.
Well, we eventually got rid of it.
Eventually.
Yeah.
That's what we want month after month. Like, not to sound like.
No, but that's how the business works.
It hits your credit card. It's not a cash business. It's like an automatic payment.
Yeah. Yeah,
you don't have to deal with the tenant board if someone stops paying you.
Well, as business owners, if we're busy with other stuff, we're getting this other office up and running and worried about the business. We're just like, we just got to leave it. We'll figure that out after.
I could see people leaving stuff an extra 2 years and not even knowing that they left, or maybe knowing but not really caring because they're just like, I just can't deal with that right now.
You hear those stories all the time. Like there was one where a lady was like, I'm like, she was an elderly lady. I think she like hit 80, and she was like going from her house to assisted living or something like that. And she had been there before we had got there and for 12 years. And so she's like, I don't even want the stuff. Like, just get rid of it. Like, I don't need it, And so we're like, she's been paying for 12 years.
I know. I can totally see that happening.
And then you go in the unit.
Oh, geez.
And it's like CDs and like an old stereo. Like
oh my God, you're totally that reality TV show. Where they go into those units?
A rack and like a mattress. And I was just like, oh man, like think about that.
Like how much you pay to save that stuff.
Think of the baseline of some of their units that the 10% that have been in there like 15, 20 years, where the people are paying, they haven't even been there for a decade.
Yeah.
Like what's even in there? Because you guys haven't opened up.
You're very dramatic.
No, but I'm just thinking about like, is there like some cooler with some old steak that someone just left in there one day and like it's honestly, a decade later? It's like,
so most of it is I wouldn't say there's that many people that don't go in for a decade or whatever, but
come on, there's some though. Let's call it 3%. Let's just call it 3%. Unofficial.
Okay, I'll take that number. But like when you do open these things up, it's very much like what I just said versus, they used to have the storage wars is what you were talking about.
Yeah. I remember that TV show.
I'm hunting for gold. Like someone
Wayne Gretzky rookie card, man. Come on.
There you go. Like in every unit, there's a Wayne Gretzky rookie card.
Totally.
But they auction them off. So the process is like if someone has them.
In Canada, we do that?
Yeah, there's
oh my God, Darcy, tell me you're the guy that's auctioning them off, please.
No. There's third party that would auction it, but you take a picture, you're not allowed to go in, and it's not. Dude,
the night before you're going in and taking anything good out of it. You could tell us, hey, no one's listening to this. You can tell us.
I want to get that name because I want to buy one just for fun.
I want to buy one too. I feel like it's like the hockey card pack that you just didn't open for a year and you found in your basement. You're like, holy shit, what's in here? We should buy some public storage units that go to auction. We should do this as like a rock.
Take the stuff and do stuff with the stuff.
Yeah, that's what I was just thinking. Only if the public storage offers a service that when we don't want anything, they'll just take it away for us.
So we start a junk removal company that just goes around, takes the stuff and junks it.
I think you got a better business here. I think
this one sounds kind of fun though, man. Just looking for that Wayne Gretzky rookie card or looking for your Bitcoin, dude. Hey, could be a laptop in there, some private keys.
Spinning like a coin in there somewhere.
A shiny Bitcoin spinning on the floor when you open it.
Boom.
I'd be scared to open some of those units, just a raccoon jumping out at you, to be fair. But so you're going through these places. Are there some communities like Collingwood, I guess, gets a lot of just ski stuff. So I guess there's sometimes that some of these communities are going to get cottagers. It's not just the locals, it's people passing through. Like I guess Muskoka must have some opportunity that you guys have looked at or considered.
Yeah, there's a few. There's a couple guys up there that have a pretty interesting presence. Like those are good markets where it's like transient to an extent. Like Collingwood's the one that's 4 seasons.
But I bet you could probably charge a pretty good amount. People have kayaks and ski.
Yeah. It's just a matter of getting your hands on these, right? Like one of the things, they're not easy assets to find. Like, you know, everyone's like, oh, like I said, like I'm going to be in storage and it's so easy and I'm just going to clip income. Like one, people aren't stupid. They know there's value to what they own. And I think people are getting smarter to that. And two, it's an operating business. So like you gotta tighten the screws. There's a lot of stories of people overpaying and not doing what they thought. Right. But yeah, those are great markets. Like if you look at all the data, which we look at, you know, quite often and we're really honing in on it, like we like those high traffic, like secondary market highways. So they're like 2-lane, 4-lane highways where there's high volume. We own a site in Alliston, phenomenal market, right on Highway 89. We own one on Highway 9. These types of highways are really good because you got people moving across those highways to work and back. Collingwood would be similar. Yeah. People do have seasonal stuff that they store.
89's a perfect highway. You're right. Going through different communities like that, that's a win. That's a win. Yeah.
12, 48, 20, 21. Like Font Hill, Welland, like Niagara,
you're right.
Alliston, that South Simcoe County into Durham region. Like there's a lot in those types of facilities outside like the market itself, maybe slightly still work great.
Yeah, they do. They've probably been neglected, some of these facilities. You come in and buy it, growing population here in Ontario. Yeah, you're kind of got some good tailwinds.
What do you think is going to happen around here in the more dense areas? So we're building smaller properties, less storage. A lot of times, no garages, no parking spots. So either condos, stacked towns, even towns. You know, you get less storage, and the detached with the garage that was the more standard before. So, is that why you think some of these the bigger players are trying to scoop up the ones in these areas because they look at the per foot per capita? Or the square foot per capita, around these areas and think, hey, it's got to increase because they see these trends that as properties get smaller, either there's two things that happen. Either people buy less stuff, which it amazes me that it seems like people are just buying more and more crap they don't need, right?
100%.
Right. So if they buy this stuff, a lot of people get attached to the stuff, they hold it, and then the need for more storage goes up. Is that kind of the hypothesis they're playing on?
Yeah, like I think so. And as you get bigger too, it's like anything, like, you know, so the facilities we're buying are kind of like 5 to 15 million in and around there, right? So, and historically, I'd say they'd average 7-8 sort of type $1 million assets. When you have a lot of capital, like it's hard to just buy $5 million facilities, right? So, you know, if you're some of the, and I can't speak for them, but you could imagine like some of these become trophy assets. They trade at a higher per square foot price if they're developing them, because you're coming into these markets and developing. Like you're not really, you know, the one Access traded sold to Smart, so like that doesn't happen very often at all.
Got it. Okay.
They're long-term holds, and if you think extrapolate over that long-term hold, yes, people will store more. It's hard to get industrial zone land, and if you're buying industrial zone land, are you going to put up storage or are you going to put up industrial? So I think they're playing off of like, there's a scarcity of industrial land. If you have a storage asset in a city like Toronto that's growing, that land value is going to go through the roof. And over time, it's going to be a good asset in and of itself, but you also own industrial land in like phenomenal markets. So I think there's a bit more of that maybe than in secondary markets. Like you're still buying industrial zone land. It's a covered land play to an extent. But in these core markets, like you're paying a premium, but just like condo developers, right? Like they want to be in that core, like those core markets, because there's only so much land that they can grab, right? So and people do consume more. Like that's one of the things I always say. It's not a totally fair comparison to compare US to Canada, but it is, because it's like the awareness is, 10, 15 years ahead in the US of the asset class in and of itself. People are becoming more aware of storage generally in Canada. People are like, well, once you start thinking about it, you see it all over the place, and it's true, right? Like you're kind of like, oh, look at the storage facility there, look at there. But we consume unequivocally very close to the amount of things that the US Americans.
Oh, really? For like,
I don't know the exact metrics, but like they say storage is sort of, yes, we consume a lot. And even in these secondary markets, we're like, well, there's more space. I have 2 garages, and like, why do they need storage? Well, they just have stuff. Like they have more big stuff. Right?
I feel like you have more, if you live in those areas with more land, you have more toys, whether it's a snowmobile or an ATV or a dirt bike.
A friend of ours in men's league stored the hockey goalie. I don't know if it was Rob or Steve. Used to store his goalie equipment because he lived in a condo for a while at a self-storage right off QEW in Islington or Kipling.
Yeah, because that'll smell up the whole
place. And the goalie equipment. Remember, goalie equipment's like, if you're in a small condo, goalie equipment's
clunky.
And just to lug it up and down.
I remember he used to go to the storage all the time before and after every game.
Yeah,
I was in shock. That was like, I don't know, 20 years ago or whatever.
I'd probably auction off the equipment. It's not where you could buy new equipment every year probably for this.
Hey, if we bid on that unit, if he stopped paying and you open it up, maybe you got some free pads for road hockey.
Bob's your uncle.
You don't know.
You got it.
And I just thought about your facilities too, with outdoor facilities. I guess part of your playbook in developing these, I guess you've thought about, you can start renting out to RVs. Because like I see everything parked on these things.
Yeah, if you have excess land. So like the way we look at it now, another sort of learning is, you kind of have a certain amount of fixed costs in a storage facility. So the first acquisition we made was 20,000 square feet. The second one, 55,000 square feet, but it was 7 acres. And so there's outside storage, RV parking, boats, trailers, whatever. I don't love it, but it works, right? It doesn't look pretty, which it is what it is.
Yeah, because when you drive by, it looks a bit all like just...
You want it tucked away and whatever. Okay. Aesthetics aside, it's a decent business. So yeah, that is a big part of it. But one of the things that we really kind of recognized, and I guess it's obvious now, is that like it takes the same to staff a 50,000 square foot facility as it does 20, and our costs are pretty much going to be similar, right? Like they don't scale proportionate to what your top line could, and so we said like really like our now, what have we honed in on? 35,000 plus, probably 40,000 plus square feet. And excess land. Because if you have that excess land, like it's the one asset class that I know of, like RV parks aside, where you can build incremental square feet. Like if I have an extra 2 acres, I could put 5,000 extra square feet down, put a slab down and 5,000 feet, fill it up, and then do another 5,000 and fill it up. Like I don't have to build it all at once.
No, and right? that build is like, we're talking a slab and a basic building here.
Pretty straightforward. So that's what we've realized. We're saying like, if you can buy 50 and you've got an extra 2 acres and you can put another 10, 15, 20 on it, like now you can grow into an asset, and the incremental return you can get on your investment by dropping down 5, 10, 15,000 square feet
that seems
solid.
Interesting.
And you're not taking like full blown development risk, which is like buy this parcel, go through every, hurdle like you guys have seen.
I feel like you can develop that on your Visa card. Go to Home Depot, get some cement, mix it up. I'm not like, I'm joking, but I'm honestly not. It's not that complicated.
I could do it myself in a weekend.
Not just that, but once they have the designs on this kind of stuff, the same facility can be built over and over. You're not
I don't know how much of designs you need. I mean, they're pretty cool.
We come from the Croatian construction method, where you just put up some walls and you get some roof happening.
No one needs an engineer stamp on these things.
Listen,
tin roofs
drawing for that. Yeah. Oh, we needed drawings. No.
Yeah. Well, here I'll make you a drawing right now. I got a paper and pen right here. No, but off Highway 10, just north side of Brampton, there's like a public storage facility. Have you seen it? It's just like gravel lot with containers all next to each other.
Yeah,
have you seen that?
There's one in Oakville.
Come on.
Yeah, there's one in Oakville off of Bronte, close to just south of
Just with containers next to each other?
Yeah, I didn't know about
There
it
you go.
until
They're not even
ago.
building.
The issue with that is container storage can be a good business, can be a fine business. It's different business. Like banks aren't going to finance that.
Oh, got it.
So it's not a building, right? It's not. It's not
really.
real
You
estate.
just have a piece of land.
Yeah, like they look at financing totally differently, and that's a guy that's had land for a while,
Yeah.
and they're like, okay, let's drop a couple of tanks, fill it up, let's drop another. And I'm making a ton of cash flow, but
He's making
the buyer's not going to pay close for that facility. Like the one you're talking about is primetime land on here, Ontario, and whatever it is up in.
At some point, it'll be sold off for something else. Yeah.
So the land in itself, he's going to win, or she, but it's not a business that we want to be in. Like you might do it to add incremental square feet, or like for a placeholder. Like our site in Allison, as an example, like it's doing great. You'd add, 3,000.
I like when you talk about the ones you really like because you whisper a little bit. Have you noticed that? Darcy's telling he's like, hey, the one off 89, that one's the winner.
I get it. You don't create equity. You don't really create equity in the business that way. You create a little bit of an income stream, like for a period of time, but there's no equity build up that way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Got it. And so remind me then, with what you and your partner are doing now for this business, are you raising capital for investments? You told me when you first started, and I forgot, you are, right? Is that how you're growing?
That's how we
don't have unlimited capital.
No, I do not.
Okay.
But so now we have 8 facilities. The way we structured it is actually, we've got a bunch more in the pipeline that are under contract, which is great, which is, it's taken a year to get there. So it takes a lot of hard work. We started with sort of friends and family, and lucky enough, kind of like a very, high net worth community of people that were sort of 1 degree of separation. And now we're in conversations with, the thing about the Canadian storage market is institutions want access to this asset class. And when we talk institutions, it's just,
bigger money
or whatever, but like a lot of people do. And there's one, and how do they get it today? There's one publicly traded company, which has been phenomenal over the last decade. And otherwise it's a very fragmented market.
Yeah. Nobody has consolidated.
No one has consolidated.
Especially the secondary markets. Like no one has brought that together.
No one has really consolidated. And there are a bunch of big players that are private, like outside of Access Storage Vault. But so they're going like, if you get to a certain number, like there's very strong institutional tailwinds. And so we're having those conversations now around like, you get to a certain number and all of a sudden it's on the radar of, which we're close to, on the radar of institutions. But to this point, it's
good for you guys, man.
To this point, it's been, there's still a long way to go.
No, I get it. But you're on.
But to this point, it's been like high net worth, sort of a little bit bigger check sizes than maybe some of the other stuff that, we've talked about historically, just because we wanted to sort of keep that investor base tight. But like you can't grow without capital. And so our structure is actually, we have a limited partnership which owns a corporation. All of our assets sit in a corporation. So it's like, it was made to roll up. It's not deal by deal, even though we bring deals into this.
Oh, got it. Okay.
Ways. So it's like a vehicle that's made to contain all of the assets, and whether we, a pension comes in and takes out our investors, or we sell it, which down the road, or we sell it to one of the public Canadian or US. Like, I think there's a lot of optionality just given the tailwinds behind.
Oh, what a fun journey you're on, cool, man. Yeah, I'm excited for you, Darcy. Really cool. Like, I remember talking to you before you left and did this, and now to see you in the process of doing this and just like the headaches you've gone through. Like, I can imagine acquiring that first one in Orangeville. I know you said your partner has experience in some stuff, but still, it's like, it's a pure shit fest. You
just learn by doing, right?
Yeah, like there's no...
I still love going out there. Like, I love going to the sites and just, it's fun. It's like, it's normal day-to-day people. Yeah. And like,
it's not complicated business either. That's the weird part about this. Is very basic, and if it's never been consolidated in Canada, it's definitely not. I feel like there's still opportunity.
Yeah. So you guys
I feel like it hasn't been. Like, there's guys that have tried to, like, Access, right? Like, they kind of had a similar strategy when they started.
Okay.
Public storage, they rolled up secondary, tertiary US markets, which, secondary market in the US is a lot bigger than here. But like, it's not like we're totally reinventing the wheel, but it's hard. Like, it's a hard thing to do. And I think we've got a pretty good feel for it now.
Well,
it's funny when you said when I left though, like my partner and I always laugh, like he's got 3 kids. I got 3 young kids.
Oh, you don't have to say it.
It was COVID, and I'm looking back, I'm like, what
the heck am I doing?
Was I thinking, you know? Like, not really. Like, we're so happy we did it, and it's been a wicked journey. But like, it takes a lot, you know, more than you can even think about, like any entrepreneur, right? More than you can even consider or think about, like, yeah, it's going to all work out just like we planned it. And kind of has to an extent, but in a different way, right? It's
but you had to put your ass on the line in a big way too. You take some risks and you deal with a lot of stress and problems that come up. You know what I mean?
I remember when we started this business for about 7-8 months, I was overlapping with my corporate job at NetSuite and this business, and I had a laptop bag.
But you told them, to be fair.
I did. I gave them 6 months notice, and I said, I'm going to quit sometime in the next 6 months. And within the next 6 months, I'm going to give you 2 weeks notice, because they were about to go IPO and I didn't really want to screw them. So I was trying to leave.
What company was it?
NetSuite. It went public for $1 billion on the New York Stock Exchange. And the December before it went public, I quit in May. I just they're like, why don't you just wait until December? I'm like, fuck no, I can't. I'm out. My life, it needs to move on. I'm done. I learned so much. Like
that would have been incredible.
Sorry?
That would have been incredible.
To go through the IPO?
Oh yeah.
I think it would have been as well. I'll never know. The people there, like the people I worked alongside, the sales team that I was a part of, the VPs that I reported into, like I learned so much from so many different people. It was awesome. I rode Oracle from 1998 to 2004-ish, and that was an incredible ride. Like the division I was in Oracle, sales division, went from like 85 people to like 350 people in about a year and a half. So it was like just exploding. That was just one little division within Oracle, and then to go to NetSuite and go there, and our sales team was a top performing sales team at the company for a while there, right before the IPO. That's why I can give 6 months notice, because we had a really high performing.
Because you're the big dog.
Yeah, we had, So I knew I kind of had a little bit of leverage there. I'm not saying they couldn't get rid of me. I'm sure they could have if they wanted to, but I kind of knew I had a bit of leverage there. But it was just time for me. I just knew in my soul, I'm like, it's time for me to move on. I've learned a ton here. And a lot of the stuff we brought to Rockstar, like I learned from watching the marketing department out of California there. They were doing pay-per-click ads. And I was like, oh, you can bid on keywords and get like these ads. And we took a lot of that to Rockstar. So when Nick and I started this business, we took a lot of technology, CRM systems, Google AdWord knowledge that we didn't realize people in the brokerage industry here in Canada, they didn't know about.
Yeah, that's an incredible edge at that.
And we were oblivious to that edge. So we were generating so many new leads for Rockstar. We didn't understand why other people weren't. So when Mike DeZormo walked in and said, hey, I want to work with you guys, we're like, yeah, oh my God, thank you. Thank you. Because here's all these people we can't deal with. Can you start helping us out?
To set up the business, like back then, we, just because of IT backgrounds, we just did everything cloud-based from the very beginning. And we had people, we had
VoIP phone systems before anybody did.
But they were using, either still Exchange servers or what was the phone system called? Citrix? Was it Citrix?
Yeah. No, Citrix. No, it was an Exchange server for email, and I forget the phone service. There was a phone system
and all this stuff. And we're like, what are these guys doing?
We're just going to get this VoIP.
We got Google Apps. There's like
Darcy,
Google
get this. With that, Google Apps came out for email for your domain. So you didn't have to have an @Gmail account. It could be like @Rockstar Brokerage. Because we knew all this technology, we signed up in like 2008 for that.
Whenever it first came out.
Yeah, we got, was it last year? Until the year 2022, we got it for free. They never charged us a dime. So Google finally sends us the email and saying, okay, like we grandfathered you, we did this, we did that, like it's over. Yeah. You need to call this number and start paying. And we're like, okay, like we weren't avoiding not paying, but like we didn't have to pay. I told an IT guy who's a friend of ours that, he goes, do you know how much money you guys saved over because they were setting up Microsoft Outlook servers and stuff, and it was tens of thousands a year for all this stuff. And we got it for free, the whole thing. That was incredible.
That is incredible.
So that whole journey is just, sometimes you're just naive. You go into it, you don't know what you don't know. Yeah. But that era, going back to what Darcy was saying, when you're leaving, you don't know what you're walking into. My friends during that 6 months, when they saw me in the office, because I was getting up at like 4 a.m., 4:30 a.m. We were working till like midnight there, like for months. They would look at me in the office and I had like my 2 laptop bags. One was the NetSuite bag and one was like the Rockstar bag. And they said, are you going to die? Like you look look like absolute shit. Like, are you going to die? I'm like, no, like, this is amazing. I'm loving this. This is great.
You just get through it. Like, there's a huge element of, well, it's cool that you did it with your brother too, right? But it's, there's just a huge element of like faith and trust, like not in a religious way, in yourself, and just like, you know, you kind of feel it and see it and like can visualize it. So you kind of just have to trust it.
And there's no looking back. You don't even know. Like, some people asked us, they're like, well, what did you think if you weren't going to, like, did you think you weren't going to make it? I'm like, no, I didn't even have time to think about that.
Yeah.
Like, I had no time to think about not making it.
You just got to figure out what you got to do.
There was a new problem today and I had to fix that problem.
It's so interesting to me though, because like you were in that phase where like tech sales was just
on fire.
And it kept going though.
I know. Yeah.
It was just boomed, and you got Oracle, like you got like some of the like Silicon Valley originals, right? Isn't NetSuite the Sequoia guys or whatever?
No, NetSuite was a spin-off. It was funded by Larry Ellison.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then Oracle reacquired NetSuite. So NetSuite was a guy from Oracle, left, one of the chief developers. Larry Ellison funded him. Larry Ellison funded that and Salesforce. Yeah. So these two guys left Oracle.
Larry Ellison, yeah.
Oh, Larry Ellison, man. He wrote an email. I was in 1998. I was at Oracle. This email comes in from Larry Ellison. So at the time, he's already a billionaire. Like one of the
sailboats, sailboats all over the place.
Yeah, sailboats, second richest guy in the world.
At that time, wasn't he getting in trouble for flying a fighter jet too close to
yeah, that's right. In San Francisco, he was landing his private jet at like 1 a.m. and there was a law against it. And he used to pay in the 1980s his sales guys in gold coins. A Brinks truck would come up and pay the Oracle sales guys in gold coins.
That's awesome.
That's how they got paid in the 80s. But anyway, so in the 90s, he writes this email just blasting Bill Gates. This is when him and Bill Gates were just going at it. And Bill Gates was like, everyone's going to have a Windows operating system on their computer all around the world. And he went on this email. He basically explained in excruciating detail why Bill Gates was stupid, and that he described this network computing architecture. I'll never forget it, NCA. And he goes, no one's going to have this stupid fucking bloated software on every computer around the world. It's going to be all on a server, and you're just going to go through like a web browser and he called it a thin client, and you're going to access the information you need when you need it. You're not going to install. Who's going to install all this software? And at the time, that seemed like, whoa.
Revolutionary.
Really? Like network computing architecture?
So he was ahead of...
Oh, he was so ahead. But then the rest of the email was just like blasting Microsoft and blasting why like they were all wrong. And I just remember thinking, wow, I'm in it right now. But I was in tech support. Like reading this email, just thinking I'm in the middle of something special here. That was before I went to sales. Oh, I learned so much from all that environment. Those American software companies just drove. So when I got into the sales side and saw how hard they drove, holy shit. I remember walking in one day, and the guy walking in next to me, American guy, still a friend to this day, I was a sales consultant. So I was like the engineer who would go with the salespeople to explain the technology. Mm-hmm. So I'd be on a phone call. They would have the CIO of like the Chicago Stock Exchange on the phone, and I'd be explaining how the technology worked, and the sales guys there, like, you know, making the sale happen. And I walked in from the parking lot in Mississauga off Highway 10 there, and he turned to me, he goes, "You're enjoying being in sales now? You're not in tech support anymore?" And I said, "Oh my gosh, I just absolutely love this. I love this opportunity, and I love being in sales." And he looked at me and he goes, "You're not in sales?" He goes, "You're not in sales until you carry a bag." And I go, "What the hell's carry a bag?" So I had to like ask some people, what does this guy mean? I'm not in sales. I'm in sales. And he goes, "Oh no, you have to have a quota. Like you're not in sales until you're just commission based, and you don't eat until you sell something." As a sales consultant, which I had like a pretty decent base salary with a little bit of bonuses. Yeah. He goes, "You're not really in sales." And I remember that just eating me alive. I was like, fuck, I want to be in fucking sales. And then I transitioned to sales, and it was a killer year. I did like, I just crushed the first 5 months because I could get on the phone with some of these tech guys as a tech person.
Yeah, that's key. Yeah.
And I could speak there. I'll never forget talking to some of these CIOs going, "Yeah, you don't need this. You don't know that. I can save you money over here, save money here. We'll redo your annual support contract. You'll cut your savings down here. You buy all these new things," which I was comped on. Yeah. But I will save you annually this much. So it was a no-brainer. Yeah, so it was just a crazy time. So I don't think when you're in those environments, you realize what a great time it is. But that era of software sales was something special. That was cool.
No, it's what you guys have built, like no brainer. Great move.
But so for you, so sorry, we got off track there, but for you now, are you looking for investors now, or where are you guys at? Where are you at with your business?
Yeah, we are. We're kind of in a mode now where we've got that sort of initial tranche of assets that have done very well, by the way, to this point, like through the uncertainty, which is driven by interest rates. Like the actual things that we've owned have all outperformed what we underwrote, which is, I can't even believe we're saying that, but it's great. So we're very happy with it. And now we're about to make acquisitions that would sort of double our size. So we are looking for, we have them in a pipeline. They've just taken a while to hit. So we are looking for investors for sure. And our historical denomination has been like a $250,000 minimum. So it's a little bit higher than,
Yeah, so it's not for everyone.
It's not for everyone, but it's a great asset class, tough to get exposure to. Love the risk profile in terms of like, well, downside versus upside.
And how do investors get a return? Is this just like what's the structure? What's the structure of this type of investment for you guys?
It's like we're underwriting it to 5 years, 4 to 5 years from now. So it's going to either be a recap, like an institution come in and sort of take our investors and say, keep managing it for us, or not. Like we're just going to take it from here, sell it to, one of the publicos, or potentially take it public ourselves, to be honest. So
awesome.
So it's a 5-year runway. We're underwriting everything to 5 years. Like once you take external, I'm not independently wealthy. I wish I was, because once you start taking sort of third party outside capital, like, even beyond your family, a finite timeline becomes very important. So you can't just do it forever, which would be
you're on the
ideal,
clock.
Which is fine, right? Like we're geared up for that. And I think we can see where it's going to go. So exit options are good. It's a 5-year thing. Storage is good for like income producing, but we just didn't structure it like that. We structured it so that if there is income in our corp, at some point there'll be enough income where we won't be raising capital. We can make acquisitions directly out of our corp.
I like the way you guys have done that. Cool, I think that's a great way to do it.
It's a legitimate long-term play.
Yeah. Yeah. This is the opposite of how I would think it would be structured, but I like this way better.
To be honest, it was set up for like a, kind of like a 10-year run, right? Like if
someone gave you that guidance to do that way. Was it you guys together figured out to structure it that way?
Well, you gave me a hard time about using BDO, and we worked with similar caliber law firm, and
it has been worth it.
We kind of said so not to jump around, but initially we thought like let's own these things for a long period of time, and then as you grow, you realize you need capital, and your capital goes beyond one degree of separation, and they're going to want a timeline. So it shifted a little bit, but it's set up so that if we did recap it, we could stay in the same entity and just keep acquiring, almost like a Berkshire, like it's corporation built to grow, right?
Guys. So all joking aside, the BDO stuff, getting some of the right professionals to guide you on that has been worth it.
Yeah, and we have really good advisors. So we've got advisors that have built two of them have built very substantial real estate companies and are kind of 10 years ahead, 15 years ahead of us. So they were also, would drop the old, hey, have you thought about this every once in a while? And so that kind of framed our thinking as well. So yeah, we got a good group around us. We're in a great ecosystem. We got a great team. So now it's just execute. And to be honest, one of the things that the reason we're talking is sort of bigger capital sources, and not to exclude people that can write a $250,000 check, but is because we've done it all, right? We've raised the capital, we've built the structure, done the acquisitions, and we like that. But raising capital can consume a lot of time. And so if you had, commitment or more committed, bigger capital per se, then we could really put the thing on rocket fuel.
We're buying speed at that point.
Yeah. Then it's just operate, deals operate and execute, right? Versus also capital, which is fine and it's how it goes. But that's kind of the phase we're at.
Awesome. It feels like just listening to you, what you have. What you have at this point, and the conviction is with you guys to attract the capital that you want and not what you need out of some sort of desperation. You're like, this is what we're looking for, and this is where we're going next.
You're almost playing with profit, right?
Yeah.
Because the foundation is built, which is the hardest part. And then you can now use that to guide yourself.
You guys have moved pretty quick, man. Congrats, Darcy. I'm not saying
it doesn't feel like it sometimes that, you never feel totally set. You guys know.
No.
You never feel like you're always kind of chomping at the bit.
Yes.
You got to get going, right?
Yeah.
But no, appreciate it.
or you're just tired because you've been chomping at the bit for too long. You're like,
well, he's
a
been
little bit
doing
of a
this,
break.
3 kids, family.
Yeah.
He's exhausted.
Yeah, so you know exactly what
No, I like it. Like I
can't find his
energized.
Bitcoin. I mean, that tells you everything you need to know. Listen,
that's a
guys,
whole
can't find my
different
Bitcoin. Can't find long-term hold. We're putting it on the balance sheet. What is that on your balance sheet?
Lose my own money, but not others. Right?
That's misplaced Bitcoin on the balance sheet.
Yeah.
Can't find it.
I like the fact that it's on the balance sheet. It's a good point.
It's secure. I just tell them it's so secure.
It is
like
super
you would
secure.
not even be able to get it.
I might not be able to get it either.
It's
that secure.
You're not even going to be able to get it.
Well, I've been asked about my balance sheet for different reasons, and I'm like, when they ask me, you know, what do you have? I'm like, hey, look, how much do you need me to tell you?
Yeah,
you know, like what percent?
That's how we are. We're like, what's the minimum we can tell you to get approved?
Yeah,
like we don't want to tell you anything. Okay.
Yeah, that's exactly my thing. I'm like, you should tell them that you have not him, but you might know this story already. But I'm just curious if when next time you have to answer those questions, tell them you have some
gold,
silver or gold buried in Europe.
Darcy, I don't know if you know this, but I buried some
Pablo Escobar.
Yeah, I buried some gold and silver in 2 different locations in Europe.
No.
Yeah, I did. And I have the GPS coordinates. So if you're ever there and you're in a jam, yeah, I did.
But they're on.
And I only did this for the facial reaction you're having right now so that I could go to a dinner party or a backyard barbecue and people talk about crazy stuff and I'll say, oh, yeah?
Wait, but what's the like, was the logic that like...
The logic is Darcy might be in a jam. He's traveling through Europe and I can just text you some GPS coordinates and you won't be in a jam anymore.
You watch
it wasn't for you to like, because the whole, Bitcoin and
this is just for fun. It's enough that it can be helpful. But yeah, it's just for fun.
Have you ever gone back and dig it up and see if
I went and checked on it. Yeah.
With what, like one of the beach hover?
Can't tell you any more than that. I checked on it. I'm not going to tell you how.
It's still there.
My son was with me. That's the only other.
Yeah,
no, I shouldn't even say that. No, he wasn't with me.
Because now we know we're honing in on the country now. See?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, trust me.
We know the whole
trust me. Listen, I can tell you the country. It's I can barely find it. Okay. So like here, even with the GPS coordinates, no one's finding
I'm starting a new business, man. Treasure hunt business.
You know what I think?
Start treasure hunt for these.
Nobody can find your Bitcoin.
We should have a poll. Would
my
you
gold
rather
and silver, your Bitcoin together, dude? Long term on the balance sheet. This is long term.
That's what I like. Is that's on the balance sheet.
Yeah,
he owns it, right? Yeah. It's on the balance sheet somewhere.
I think
where is it?
The poll should be who's more likely to find their.
Oh, dude, I have GPS coordinates. Yours is in a laptop, digital. Yours is gone into you've donated. You've reduced the supply of accessible Bitcoin for the rest of us, and we appreciate you for your efforts.
Hey, I apologize for my brother being an asshole.
It doesn't speak well for the currency, though.
No.
Or me. But that's a whole different.
Yeah. Darcy, if someone wanted to find out more about you guys, the URL, can you hand it out?
Yeah, it's pantoneim.com. So PANTONEIM.com. Pantone Investment Management is our business. That's the manager. Our storage facilities aren't branded that though. They're branded just different things.
Cool. I like that because then we can drive by and it might be Darcy's. Yeah. Well, we kind of know some.
Yeah, you see my name on there. We toyed with that logo a little bit, my face, but it didn't. Didn't fly.
I would like to see you working at the front desk at one of them. Just one day.
Going up to Collingwood, we pass the Orangeville one all the time. Somewhere there, I don't know exactly where it is.
There's a bunch we pass on the way.
It's not on.
As soon as you pull into Collingwood,
there's one in Orangeville that's a big bluebird on 9. Collingwood, there's a bunch. We actually own a site. This is just a random tidbit. Like we had the 2 first facilities, and then during COVID, we came across a site in Thornbury, not Collingwood, right on 26. It was 9 acres, and it was like $120K an acre. We're like, that seems like a pretty good price. And so we ended up buying it, and we're in the process of actually site plan approving it for light industrial and storage right on 26. I don't know if you know, it's kind of not like almost right across from that Home Hardware. I don't know.
Yeah,
that's before the microbrewery there.
Yeah, I know
right.
Oh yeah, I know exactly. I know exactly where that is.
It's on the like.
Oh, dude,
on the left
that's a great spot.
Yeah, that is a great spot.
So
and that area
we still may develop that. Like even though I said we're not developing, just because it's a very interesting location, and actually there's.
Well, you know how many people from just Toronto are buying in that area. Mm-hmm. No, that spot.
That's why we ended up.
When we're up there, we go to Thornbury a lot to the restaurants versus like we won't go to the village so much. So on the weekends when it's really busy, right? We'll head up to Thornbury. There's a couple of good little spots there. And I know there's a lot of nice cottages around there too, from my understanding. They haven't explored.
Well, it's the chef who owns that one restaurant in Thornbury. It's him and all his buddies who own those really nice houses.
Yeah,
just on
he's the guy that owns Bymark and stuff. He's some chef that people would know the name of probably.
We don't.
I don't know. I'm not into that.
I don't even know the name of the restaurant. What's the name of the restaurant in Thornbury there? It's a really great restaurant.
I forget it now. It's an Italian.
I should know. It's not the one in the mill, like backing onto the water.
No. This is like a Toronto chef,
right
like a really, really nice. You would never expect it to be in Thornbury.
It's further through that intersection, isn't it? Yeah, I know what you're talking about. All the guys from Toronto go.
It's the main drag in Thornbury,
I know.
which is a tiny. That makes it seem like it's a big downtown. It's a tiny downtown. Did you find it?
Yeah, Fabrica.
I don't
know if that's.
Oh man, it's Fabrica. A great place.
It really is. Yeah. It's pretty. The food there is probably the first time we went. I was shocked. I was like,
you can't even get in
really
on
good.
Busy weekends. You need reservations. Yeah. You can't even walk into that place. But Darcy.
So we like Thornbury, but I wouldn't say it's our. There's a lot of markets that are right on our radar. So. See where it goes.
Yeah, that's cool, man.
Pumped. Can't wait to see the next part of the journey, man. Darcy, you didn't have to come in and share this, so thank you. Really appreciate you doing this. Thank you. Appreciate it. And that's it.
Thanks for having me. Thanks, guys.
Hey, thanks for tuning in. You can find every new episode of the Your Life, Your Term show on all the major streaming platforms. So Spotify, iTunes, Google Play. And if you'd like to get free copies of some of the books that we've put together, like these right here, or some of the reports that we've put together, like these right here, you can find all of those at www.rockstarinnercircle.com. That's www.rockstarinnercircle.com. That's it for now. Until next time, your life, your terms.